Right, Mike's right.
You're cutting Kenny off and telling us nice things about us.
That's fine. Don't drink all that though. I want you to taste it against
no
the next
compliments. Keep drinking.
It's the backpacking beer adventure. Let's get hopping. They actually made it to Portland. You believe it? Filming at Breakside today, one of the legendary Portland breweries. Pretty honored, actually. Super excited. Getting down here, not so bad. Stayed with my buddy Brandon up in Marysville, and then popped down through Seattle. Just one ride from a girl selling skincare products at a farmer's market down there. Met up with one of Nick's friends from New York, who now lives in Seattle. He ended up putting us up for the night with his wife and little baby. Had a great time there, and then started hitchhiking towards the coast. Big heat wave here in Portland. We started hitching towards the coast, one lucky ride after another. One guy went out of his way to get us to Olympia, and then we're thinking about camping on the coast somewhere and got picked up by a guy who used to hop trains and stuff, and he was just winging it, willing to take us anywhere on the coast. Thinking of going to Portland that night, so like, screw it, might as well just get on in. So rode with him along the coast of scenic way all the way to Portland. Staying with my friend Stephanie that I met at beer camp years ago. Super awesome. Hey Stephanie, thank you again. Having a great time, and yeah, I'm just gonna go meet up with a friend who just flew into Portland, and then go hit up Breakside and drink some delicious beer, I'm sure of it.
Great.
Cool.
I fly up. Good to go, EK. Do I look? I'm good. We're
Hang straight. There we go.
My name's Ben Edmunds. I'm a brewmaster here at Breakside Brewery in Portland, Oregon.
Well, thanks for having us.
Hey, thank you for coming. Here in our production brewery, this is where we make the vast majority of our beer. So any of our beer that goes into cans, bottles, or kegs comes out of this brewery. It also houses our barrel aging program, feeds a lot of the beer to our tap rooms around the city as well. So
Do they brew in those other tap rooms?
at two of them, yeah, we do. We brew at our original location, which is a little pub up in northeast Portland on Deacon Street. So we have our original 3-barrel system there down in the basement, which is where batch 1 of Breakside IPA was brewed. Batch 1 of a lot of our now best-selling beers have been brewed there. And then also at our Slabtown pub, which is in northwest Portland. That has a 10-barrel system. We have tanks that range in size from 3 barrels to the 120-barrel tanks that you'll see out there, and everything between 3, 6, 10, 20, 30, 60, etc. As things get more popular, they scale up.
Right.
As some trends go, some of those recipes get scaled back down. So over the years, some of the beers have been brewed on all 3 systems at different points.
It's nice to have those options.
Yeah, it's fun, because then things don't have to go away permanently, or you can make more of something that people like, right?
There's always going to be someone who's like, that was my favorite.
Yeah, it's funny though, you know, it's usually the person who wants like a stout in the middle of summer. They're like, why don't you have any dark beer on right now?
It's me.
Well, we have a few that we can taste in a little bit.
Yes.
So let's go see the brewery.
All right, let's check it out.
The brew house here, canning line and cellar. We run a 3-vessel, 30-barrel system from Metalcraft, who's a now defunct manufacturer here in Portland, but they did great work. We turn this about 4 times a day, about 120 barrels coming off this system 7 days a week. 96 degrees on the brew deck, not terrible. Could be worse. It was 115 yesterday. It's a great system. It's a workhorse system, and we cram a lot of beer through this day in, day out. I feel like we have one of the largest brew platforms for a 30-barrel system. Like, you can have a true party up here. So when we first opened, you could stand up here and see everything that was going on. You could see the cellarman screwing up and be like, hey, don't do it that way. And now you can't see anything. There's a huge canning line in the way.
There's this one guy in a director's chair sipping beer.
Hey, canning line. This line can run 12-ounce and 16-ounce cans, like Wanderlust and 16s. We put True Gold and Rainbows and Unicorns in 12-ounce. Cans get depalletized up here. They go through this twist rinser where they get a light rinse off any dust from the inside. They get purged and filled here. They go through, they get capped, or lidded I should say, and then seamed through the 2 seamers. And this runs about 100 cans a minute. So when it's cranking, it's going. It goes through an X-ray to make sure that it's it's filled properly.
Yeah.
That way we don't have to weigh every single can. Sour work tank, so we don't really do any kettle souring anymore. We do all of our souring in stainless outside of the brew house. So this tank was designed for us to hold 90 barrels of sour wort. Then we can send back to the brew house to kill, but it's basically a live lacto tank or a horny tank that is actively fermenting. It's where we keep our live lactoculture, and we always leave it about a third of the way full so that we have kind of the mother culture in there, kind of like a sourdough starter. So we'll empty a little bit, send a bunch in, fill it back up, get it going again, pull some out. Yeah.
Badass.
It's a fun system. We use that for some of our barrel projects, but mainly we use it for our summer seasonal, which is passion fruit sour, which you'll be able to taste a little bit.
You got some of that on now?
Yeah, I'll taste that later.
Perfect.
Fairly extensive lager program here, so we have 2 very large horizontal lagering tanks as well.
That is very cool.
Yeah, they're big. If we ever move the brewery, I don't want to be here the day those get moved out of here, man. Those were stacking those 2 and putting those 2 on.
See that on a truck rolling by?
Yeah, 134 barrels to the tippy top to really fill it.
That's pretty impressive.
There used to be a wall facing this way too, and it housed part of our barrel program. So yeah, so we demolished the wall, left one wall standing.
Yeah.
Because there's a bunch of electrical utilities along that wall. Moved all the barrels and then plopped these in there.
I'm stoked to see the barrels too.
Yeah, we'll get over there in just a sec. You just think about like the sheer amount of beer that you're able to move through this facility in a day, and it's kind of astounding. So this is our warehouse. It's also our barrel program. Dirty kegs, not the most romantic part of brewing. We have about 320 bourbon barrels here, whiskey and bourbon barrels, some rye whiskey, some bourbon, some locally distilled whiskey here as well.
You got all kinds of stuff in here. I imagine a lot of big stouts and...
So yeah, we predominantly focus on big stouts. We kind of treat the stout program like a wild program. So instead of taking like our one imperial stout, putting it in 15 casks, after a year and a half pulling those 15 casks out, blending them up and saying that's the beer.
Right.
We have like 10 or 12 different batches of different stouts. Make a batch and fill 10 casks, say, right? There'll be 10 of those casks, so we might select 4 of them after 6 months. But the other 6 casks in that set might sit for another year and a half. And so the common has like multiple lives, and it evolves, it blends, right? So you're like, what do you want to blend to? Oh, let's do a beer that's kind of like a classic Russian Imperial Stout, like really balanced. Yeah. So we'll then go to the casks and say, okay, let's pull some of this batch and some of that batch and blend those together. Instead of the process of making barrel-aged beers being about the brewing of them, you're really centering it on like the blending and cellaring of them. It's a fun way to do it. It's very different than what we did for many years. We only do about like 6 or 7 releases of these now a year.
Cool. Make them killers.
Yeah. Dan's here.
Awesome. Hey.
They say when you're late to the party, you should bring grifts, but it looks like you got something in glass.
I got some beer. Good to
You
meet
have to talk loud to me on the mics.
Oh, I can be very loud and boisterous if need be.
Nice.
Yeah, so Dan runs the barrel program. Been with Breakside for 6.5 years. Yeah,
somewhere in there. One piece before we look at our wild and sour collection that kind of taken some of these ideas over to that. Another piece to get another layer on this is now not only do we have 16 different base wort streams or base different dark beers going into the project. Yeah. Now we have different ages of these and different cask types and different things. So we have a lot of these tools to manipulate. And I like adjuncts just as much as anybody else, but having all these parameters to chase those flavors from the barrel, I think brings more stability. I think it brings, more depth of flavor
more
and
nuance,
more nuance
and more control. Yeah.
And so we have young beer, old beer, in this type of barrel, in that type of barrel, and then we can just kind of use those tools.
If you're going to add vanilla or nibs or coffee or whatever, it's great to have the base. So you're not covering anything up. You're just making a crescendo of happiness.
And I don't want to put things into your mind, before you taste beers yourself, but I think we can chase a lot of those flavors directly from barrels
without even
doing that.
Yeah.
And when you kind of have
like our dark cabaret.
You get all those flavors actually.
Yeah, a ton of them.
Yeah.
Then over here, the mixed firm program, the wild and sour program, whatever nomenclature you prefer. We call it Breakside Sour because there is a level of acidity in all of these. Filled directly with raw wort and then been used both for primary fermentation with whatever resident culture is in the barrels. I won't call it fully spontaneous because we don't have a cool ship. We're not putting it out overnight, but we're also not inoculating our wort streams. It's really just whatever bugs are still in the barrel from the last beer or from the wine that was in the barrel or whatever.
Stone fruit on the rare occasion.
There's orchard yeasts from fruit that we put into a cask, things like that. And so again, here 4 or 5 times a year, Dan and I and a few others will sit down and we'll blend up a beer and taste through, put a blend together and decide, okay, where do we want to go with this directionally? Like, we like this base, what's going to go with this base? Another fruit, is it an herb or spice, a flower, something like that? Or do we like it as it is, just kind of plain, as an unfruited, unadjuncted, mixed firm beer?
As it grew from 5 barrels to 10 to now, this is in the range of 250. They start to cluster by their batches that they do. So normally we'll go through an entire batch at a time and see, wow, the inoculum in resident culture in this one's different than this one, different than this one, different than this one.
Right.
We can taste through that set at the same time and start to bring out this or bring out that. And you can see, you know, there's a little bit of this, there's a little bit of that.
Is it a pretty, like, do you have a calendar, like, let's do it? Or you just,
No.
like, walk by one day and you're like, it's been a few months. Let's give it a shot.
We just started rolling on the wild and sour again. The dark stouts have really been taking a run, but we plan six a year and kind of work on the calendar and work in reverse to try to target our dates for our in-house blendings.
Yeah, this is beautiful.
Our entire residency is in wood. Like, these beers never see stainless until they are ready to be blended for final bottling. So when we have an active ferment going back here, it gets very funky.
I've always enjoyed your beers when I've come to town. But
Thanks,
it's
yeah.
great to actually see what's going on behind the scenes here.
Well, you're here at a good time because I think we are making the best beers we've ever made, right?
I'll second that.
You want to taste some more beers?
Yeah.
I'm ready to taste some beers.
I love beer.
Let's talk lager here first.
Start from the top here.
Are you a lager guy?
I'm into all beers. Like I told you, like Imperial Stout in a vacuum is my favorite beer. But like weather, vibe, story, I'm into pretty much all beers. I don't think
All right.
there's anything I don't like.
We'll make you wait for the Imperial Stouts a little bit, but yeah, we'll start.
Get the appetite going.
Yeah, so this first beer is a beer called Unbearable Lightness. This is our current summer. It's a Czech Pilsner. We call it a summer Czech Pilsner. It's brewed lower ABV than most Czech Pils, but it has the same kind of like classic bitterness. It uses sterling hops instead of Stouts, which is basically Stouts grown in Oregon. So it's a really beautiful hop. It uses Bohemian grown barley that's malted in Germany.
Kind of what I expected, which is what you want from a Pilsner. You don't want to get some unexpected, like, what was that? Some breweries like to dry hop their Pilsners, and
Yeah.
I can enjoy those, but like,
You'll taste one that we have in just a couple. That third beer is lightly dry hopped, but yeah.
like I said, I do enjoy those.
Up next, you got Breakside Pilsner. This is the one that we make here. We make a lot of it. This one probably just got kegged the other day.
Yep, looks like it did, for sure.
Got a little more aroma to it, almost a little dankness.
Yeah, we've kind of moved towards a little bit more aggressive kind of hop scheduling on that over the last, I would say, 2 to 3 years.
Yeah, definitely
Feels
more
like
like
a good
soft floral,
all-night
right?
cornhole kind of beer,
Yeah,
for sure.
The third Pils is called Sharing Horizons. It's actually pretty high bitterness, but I think it gets masked because of that ABV, and then it is lightly dry hopped with some New Zealand hops.
Yeah, I like that too. There's 3 distinct Pilsners. How many breweries can you go to that
Yeah.
have 3 distinct Pilsners? So we're moving on from the Pilsners.
Pilsner, number...
True Gold.
True Gold. Oh, we just got a gold for True Gold at the Oregon Beer Awards. That was probably within the last 3 weeks, I think.
Yep. I'll see if I can find it in your swimming pool of medals.
Thank you,
above
that's
the
very
bar.
kind. We kind of wanted to have something that was smooth, easy drinking, a little bit hop forward. Before, this is kind of our flagship now, going into 12-ounce cans, you know, where it's just, this is
like the
my
body.
go-to beer at home, where I just want to like drink beer and enjoy.
Nice golden ale with
I like
a little
this.
bit more hop profile to it.
It's got
than
just like the hint more body. It's
Yeah.
just like perfect. Like it's still light.
low bitterness.
Right.
Yeah, we use Mosaic in it at a low level. It's a fun way to like use some kind of what I would call, you know, designer hops, but like not in the way, not at bombing it into a dry hop, just kind of making a beer like that just has this kiss of hops.
Yeah,
and,
tease
like,
out some
you know,
of those flavors that feel familiar.
more like melon and honey, like this kind of honeyed malt flavor that you can't quite tell if it's like barley and malt derived or if it's kind of actually hop derived.
This is what I'm looking forward to drinking in another 10 minutes and just
Yeah.
seeing how it's warmed up.
Yeah.
I think it's still going to be delicious, but
Yeah.
that's earmarking that one.
I'm a big river guy, and it's a very nice river
Good
beer.
river beer.
That would
Good
be a
river
great
beer.
one. Yeah.
Indeed. These are going to be really interesting. Aged in gin barrel. Aging
Okay.
gin in barrels is something that really doesn't happen. But oddly enough, here in Oregon, they make a varietal of gin that they age in barrels.
Somewhat funky, almost like Saison farmhouse smell, and then the lavender, and then there's definitely this malty note that just like grounds you right when you take a sip. This is awesome.
We love making these beers, and they're just hard to sell. I mean, this beer was released 2 years ago, so that's been not on tap. Not that keg has been on tap for 2 years, but yeah, I think it was 2 summers ago that we released this beer.
That is a special beer.
Thanks, man. Yeah.
So this next one is also going to be a gin barrel aged beer. This is the 3rd time we've made this. It's called Bellwether. Fourth? Okay, fourth. Yeah, fourth time we made it. Fourth time.
Fact checking here.
An imperial wit will go into be aged in these gin barrels, and only exclusively, these Old Tom gin aged barrels. And then on the back end, we'll use recruit lime, leaf, and we'll do a sour portion with the recruit lime that will blend back into it. So this is probably, I believe, 60-40 barrel aged to kind of...
I like that little sourness hit. It's kind of like with a creek beer without that cherry hit, obviously.
Kind of like a gin gimlet, gin and lime, right?
Okay.
And
shout out to Enner, her favorite drink.
This is a beer that people love. Like, it's a beloved Breakside beer.
I'm excited because I've been coming to Portland for years, and I've known you guys as one of the best breweries, but I'm only halfway through the first light flight, and I'm just like, and after walking around with you guys, I'm like incredibly impressed and honored.
Man. We're lucky that we get to make beers like Lavender Fizz and Bellwether, and the IPAs that you're about to taste are what subsidize those
Keep
projects. And the good thing is we really love IPA too.
Let's jump into number 1 on the next paddle.
Yeah, so your palate cleanse is Rainbows and Unicorns, Session Australian IPA. It's heavy on Galaxy hops. We use some Eldorado in there. Some Comet, which is an American Heritage varietal. Session Rice IPA is the idea.
Is rice, that's what that little sharpness was? This is really nice too. This is just this is somebody else's river.
I was about to say another river beer.
Yeah, you want if you want something a little more bitter, a little more hoppy, a little more textural on the palate. It's got that.
Those are like the 2 you put on the river, just like we can go back and forth.
The hop intensity is there, the hop flavor is there, and the ABV just allows it to crush it a little bit more easily.
Almost like a bubblegum kind of thing.
Totally.
Like, it gets there. Like it's delicious.
Next 2 are 2 pale ales that we do. Woodlawn Pale Ale is brewed at our original pub, which is in the Woodlawn neighborhood of Portland.
Nice.
And this won the bronze medal at the Great American Beer Festival in American Pale Ale in 2019. It just won the gold medal at the Oregon Beer Awards in the American Pale and Session IPA category this year.
That's got more of that pale ale. There's more multi bite. It still feels light, but there's like that multi.
Yeah, I think that you nailed it.
Kind of base to
it.
it.
Classic American Pale has that malt profile. It's just it's not caramel, it's not overly sweet, but it reminds you that it's barley. It tastes like beer.
That is a pale ale, and it is hoppy as hell and delicious.
Yeah, that's what I'm drinking too.
Cheers. Nice. Cheers. I like the name of this one we're coming up on.
Yeah, Cuddle Puddle. Very floral, citrusy, kind of in the same vein as Woodlawn, but the malt profile is a little bit reduced. Hop note hop and really light bodied.
Slightly more bitter, maybe?
I think it drinks more bitter a little bit because it has less malt to hide the bitterness,
Yeah. I like this one too. Cuddle Puddle. I was thinking Burning Man. I like a good dry beer. Like a lot of sweetness can get to you, especially if you're trying to drink quite a few beers.
Yeah. Last here, for the moment, is What Rough Beast.
What Rough Beast? What a great name.
House favorite. It's our 1 year-round hazy beer. It's a little bit northwest by northeast in the sense that it's a little bit more bitter than I think you find for like kind of East Coast IPAs. Yeah. But it's definitely quite a bit softer than West Coast stuff that we make.
I like it. I'm finding more beers like this that aren't just that like, because I respect a good hazy IPA that like big, almost like stout body.
Yeah, huge,
like
thick.
Pillowy is the best word that they always like to use.
Sure.
But I like this where it's just like not quite all that body. It's got a little more bitterness. It is a little cloudier. It's just like all those huge like tropical.
Yeah, you get the full hop delivery without it being so satiating that you can't drink more than 5 ounces of it.
It's almost a different. I wish there was a better way to describe hazy IPAs because this is the version that I like the best. I mean, I know people like the big thick ones too.
I think that this allows It's taking some of those tools that you can get from the thick ones where it's the mouth coating and rolling and thinning it up a little bit so you can have a longer length of experience of the beer across your palate. So it can just lengthen that time of hops and other things. And then with a little bit of that higher bitterness, you have a bookend that says at the end, it's like, hey, this is still a beer, this is still IPA. But I think that mid-palate roll is something very difficult to get in not hazy beers.
Yeah, I think that that's the key, like in terms of balancing hop bitterness, malt, ABV, a lot of the time in TG, right, is to like, you want that front to back aroma all the way to the finish, kind of consistent, rich hop flavor. And I think that's true in West Coast and hazy. And, you know, you go too dry or too boozy, you lose it. You go too bitter, the bitterness comes up early, you lose it. You go too big-bodied, you lose it. You know, like there's a lot of ways to wash that out, and it's a delicate balance. But yeah.
That's great. That's what I want personally from a hazy. I still like the other hazies. Like, I like the thick ones for what they are, but like those are the ones that I'm like, oh, I can actually drink 3 of these.
Yeah.
Thanks for pouring these.
Yeah, let's get another set going.
We good? All right, we've got a new set of beers here and a new set of rules.
Yeah, Kenny, this is now that you're 12 beers in.
Yeah.
13 with the pint you started with.
So now I have to start tasting, and then you'll tell me why I'm
Specifically this flight, yeah, this is because it's a weird beer.
It's delicious. I really like it. Yeah, a little tart with sour.
Actually, right on sour, passion fruit sour.
Passion fruit.
Yeah. So
I like this game.
yeah. This might be the weirdest beer we've ever played.
Malty, and then there's like a plum thing going on, an apricot. It's a little funky, but not very.
I like all these.
Yeah.
I like every one of these is positive in my book.
It starts sweet and finishes dry, for the most part. It lingers. It looks like a vanilla thing at the very end.
What do you think the alcohol is?
It's gotta be 8.7.
Yeah, I think we brewed a Maibach with agave and Gewürztraminer grapes.
And I think a little bit of Riesling.
And Riesling grapes, and then blended in barrel-aged barley wine into it.
To try to get some of that malty flavor.
That malty and the vanilla you're getting is so it's a kind of a blended strong ale. I think that funk you're getting too, to me that's the agave, like almost like a raw cactus kind of aroma. And once you're there, it's like, oh yeah, it's kind of like a tequila.
Gusty, like.
Yeah.
Yeah, musky sweetness.
Yeah.
It smells kind of winey too. I don't know if that's surprise happiness or surprise.
Or just like, what the world is going on here?
No, it tastes like wine as well, but there's a malty hit in there. And let's see this is beer. Sweetness. A little brown sugar.
Oh, yeah. There is brown sugar in that beer, actually.
Little kind of, stone fruit. It's sweet, almost a little pruny. Good.
Yeah.
This is a collaboration we did with the renowned Tony Onward down at Lost Abbey.
There's pumpkin, there's spice, and so we describe this, we call it like a winter barley wine, but it's a pumpkin barley wine with barrel-aged stout and no chino
And
barrels.
the raisin,
Golden raisin barley wine, it's aged in apple brandy barrels. Yeah,
What do you call this beer?
the Grey Wave.
Okay. So we got 2 more guesses.
Yeah, I'd say you were on a solid pass. I'm very impressed. So this is actually beer that Dan and I have in our glasses too, right?
Yep. Okay, this smells a little more triple IPA-ish. Let's see what's going on here. Maybe not triple. This is, this is just a good, solid IPA.
When you guys go to edit this, you're gonna have to have the ding 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 correct. Like It's a double
No.
IPA, but there's something quirky here. There's a little weird, there's a thing going on. But I love it.
I love it too.
Yeah.
And I'm very happy that you're not jumping around.
We're sitting around 8 or 9%.
Yeah. Ish. Almost exactly. 8.8. Throw a guess out there. Like, what's the... We're gonna say it, and you're gonna have this moment where you're like,
So there's some sort of like extra.
yeah, it's not just hop. Yeah,
malt.
there's a non-hop
Something-
malt. There's an adjunct in this.
Something that I would say would be very non-traditional.
But also very well used by the collaborating brewery who worked with on this beer.
Is it like not a potato, not herbal, but something like that?
It's not a potato.
I know it's not a potato at all. But it's not,
You're thinking about tubers ever since we gave you the pumpkin.
I know. I know it's not potato. It doesn't taste like
Is it a
diesel or something. It just tastes like something.
It's a double IPA aged on Spanish cedar wood.
Oh, just on Spanish.
Yeah, but
I thought you were gonna be like,
No, the same wood that you would normally use, like in humidor. Like, try it again. I think it like comes in, you can kind of feel that. But we wanted to delicately use it to enhance the hop profile and kind of be in there in a subtle way.
So we did this with Cigar City out of Tampa. They
It's a
did,
phenomenal brew.
and they basically started aging beers on Spanish cedar 10 years ago. So what's funny about this beer is that a couple of the folks on our staff smell it, and it was like, I just put so much cedar I can't handle.
So
Like,
much,
they're just
my
like,
eyes are watering.
Yeah.
And for me, I get way more hops.
The cedar, and from my palate, is subtle enough where it's like you don't know where the hops end and the cedar begins, and you have this kind of like confluence of flavors.
Yeah.
Is it the hops that are kind of woody? Did we choose hops that were woody? Or is it the muskiness? Is that from the wood, or is that from the CTZ? It's cool. Like, it's a really mindfuck kind of beer. One more before you're off the hook, and we'll decide if you passed or failed, because I'd say you're at least a solid pass right now. But you can really
I dropped the ball on that one. I was just like,
No. You got it to style very quickly. You called it an 8.19% IPA, which is correct.
What do we got here? We got some farmhouse stuff going on. Tart. Almost want there to be cherry in here, but who knows what's going to happen. Excited. That is a clean, like sour, tart. Trying to pick out any flavors though. That's just like a really clean, tart, sour kind of beer. I'm not getting any woodiness on that one.
Are you ready for the disclosure?
Yeah.
So this is our most recent mixed from beer that we did.
And there's still no information on it.
Well, all the info's on the outer wrap. That's
Yeah.
the thing. So you have Archipelagos, which is our
Most recent mixed from release that we did.
Oh, it's wine.
Yeah.
it's the Calamansi line. It's like this Filipino line. It's a line that's very common in Filipino cooking, I should say. That kind of looks, it's like a slightly larger lime, but like has orange flesh and tastes like this kind of cool tangerine lime hybrid. But it's subtle. It just is, I feel like it accents all the hop, aged hop, accents all the other characteristics.
So this is a mix of probably, I would guess there's 9 different barrels, but we have lots of different projects that we combined in, probably some lambic.
Yeah. Like to me, this is just like perfection. So there wasn't like a lot of stuff I could pull out of it. It was just like this is what
So
is sour like.
It's hard
Clean.
to.
I don't get a lot of the lime, to be honest, but like
It's not like sweet citrus.
yeah.
I think this beer is cool because it packs through so much of our like house culture, but there's just enough fruit where it doesn't taste woody. It doesn't taste like kind of oaky and old. It like enlivened.
We're gonna do a little bit of a double tasting. So this first beer is Ben's brainchild. Do you want to take this one away?
It says 13 months in barrel. So we brewed this beer. This is a beer called Chocolate Brandy Alexander. We got these great brandy barrels through a barrel broker from California. Okay, what can we do with great brandy barrels that's different than our bourbon barrel aged stouts? So we made a sweet stout, a brandy Alexander with a little nutmeg shaving in it, So you're gonna get the brandy, some nutmeg, a lot of chocolate, and we added Dutch cocoa to it. So this is definitely kind of a cocktail sweet beer, but it's not like a pastry stout.
When you nail this dry chocolate deliciousness, and sometimes I'll have beers that have this graham crack, it's like a dry aroma.
It's so impressive.
We talk about that a lot. I mean, I think I'm getting the
Incredible.
beer nerdery world on barrel-aged stouts. I mean, one thing we talk about a lot, especially lately, is this balance you have to have between the higher TG you go, the more residual sugar you have, the better that beer stands up to the barrel, right? You can handle more alcohol, you can handle more bourbon, you can handle more hop and intensity, but you lose malt. You lose malt artifacts. So you need, this is one of the things nice about blending, if you have that beer that's finishing at 12, 13, 14, 15 Play-Doh, but you don't have anything lighter, you're going to lose malt. You're going to have a beer that's just sweet. It hits the palate and being saccharine. Having that old school imperial stout and bourbon barrels that finishes at 6 Play, you don't want to make an entire beer of that because it can't stand in the barrel. It tastes like a, what does Jeff Allward say, a Boilermaker, right? It just tastes like whiskey and beer, like, but not married. But you want that for blending.
Sure.
You need those artifacts because then you can say, okay, this has a little more roast, this has a little more
moves.
Yeah, you have the ability to blend that in, yeah.
But this is like an artifact of the old system where we took the same beer and some of the barrels were screaming, I want to go this way, and some were screaming, I want to go that way. So we made 2 different variations of that same beer.
Yeah.
Whereas now we can say, what do you love? I love the malt mid palate. What do you desire? What do you want more of? You say, I want more, bourbon aroma. You can say,
char. I want
great.
more
You can say, great. Here's more char. Here's more this. You put it across and you say, do you love this? And you're like, yeah, but just a little bit more vanilla. So now, with our paneling, we'll do 3 panels for the same beer and bring a lot of beers in. And you can just start to change.
Y'all are very much maestros.
And
you
here,
figured out a way to.
well, you still have a little in your glass. Grab it. Right.
You're cutting Kenny off and telling us nice things.
Oh, that's fine. Don't drink all that though. I want you to taste
Yeah,
it
it's like,
against
no
the next one.
compliments, keep drinking.
Yeah, no,
Just
just
say
right
that
here.
one and grab one of these in the middle, and so
right.
you can taste them against each other.
This beer is called Chocolate Grasshopper Milkshake Stout.
Almost tastes like Nickens. It's so creamy.
Yeah.
It's so creamy.
Isn't it crazy? It's the same beer, man.
Yeah, so and this is why I left
all
a little bit
the
on the
only
side.
difference is the Palo Santo.
And the ounces that went into it, like I could count on a single hand if I had to guess.
This is a pivot point for us in terms of how we blended beer.
So what
Like
did
I-
you do with the Palo Santo? You do plank sand spirals?
No, took brick, we got it in brick form for burning, like a little stick.
Regular brick size?
I mean,
No, like a little twiggy
Okay.
to burn as incense. And then I feathered
it
it
is
with
the
a
most
knife.
powerful ingredient. We've worked with some powerful ingredients. Candy cat mushrooms,
Totally.
powerful fucking ingredient.
Totally.
But Palo Santo
the
beats
bodies.
them all.
Well, he
It's
gets it.
crazy what it does. The wood just, it gives it, yeah, it's creamy.
But
It's
it
crazy.
took a time. It took probably 6 months, and then everyone's like, mind's blown because we're like,
What did I do? I used 1.5 ounces of feathered Palo Santo.
But you get that mintiness? It's like almost like it's not minty like fresh toothpaste anymore.
But it's almost got that nose expanding, like cheek expanding, eye expanding, like characteristic mint. That is, you know what it is. It's incredible.
yeah, 2 more
We're
beers.
doing a show with it.
We're going to start into the new barrel age collection that we looked at, we talked about. So this was the first one that we released within this series
new
of our
blended
new
stouts.
blended stouts.
Okay.
This is non-adjunct.
So this is just a classic imperial stout.
Yes.
In
We
several
would call it
barrels that you blended.
a modern,
this version has
we would
this.
call this a modern imperial stout.
All this whole series this year is all obscure music genres. So space music was followed by cute metal, was followed by dark cabaret, was followed by toy town techno.
This starts thick. It has that big bourbon flavor and the roastiness. Oh, cheers!
Yeah, so it seems like I know you
Yeah,
waited.
here
You
you
waited
go.
all the way to dessert.
We're at the final beer.
On the surface, you'd be like, this is another imperial stout in bourbon barrels, and it's totally different. But the majority of the beer in this blend is a lager. It's a stout, but it's a lager.
Okay.
And it's got a little bit of smoke. And we built on that. We said, okay, these barrels are cool. We put some imperial porter, whatever you want to call it. It's a stout. It is a lager yeast in those bourbon barrels, aged it. Taste those barrels, and this cohort was beautiful. So what do you build on that? We built on char, nougat, marshmallow. Like, how do you play on it? It's, again, no adjunct, just totally different.
You know what's weird is, you know when you smell something, you think about this time when you were like 5 years old that you haven't thought about in 14 years.
It's a sense memory, totally.
I just thought about this time 11 years ago, like the first time I went to Dusseldorf and what beer? And that sounds stupid. I just was brought back to that time.
Dude, that's not stupid at all. I mean,
It was obviously
Kulmbacher
way
is basically the porter version of alt beer. The cluster. Okay, that you just passed. You may have gotten a B+ over here, but you just ace. I mean, beyond ace the last chapter of this test.
Woo!
It is.
I passed Breakside.
This beer, the Kulmbacher base, which is probably what 60%.
Yeah, maybe a little bit more, but it's on the higher side.
And this goes a little, maybe again, a window into how we blend is like we start with, we don't start just like, let's try barrels 612 and 219, right? We say, let's try looking at this cohort, this group, and is there a concept here? Is there some works amongst them? And in this case, there was. And that was basically a German porter, which is basically a slightly blacker version of alt beer. So, wow, props, dude. That was impressive. That is very impressive. And the fact that it tastes like Dusseldorf makes me even happier.
You guys have crushed it. Thank you for giving me all this time. This is one of my favorite breweries on the planet. I don't want to say it's my favorite because
That's all right. There's a lot of people in season 2 here.
This is ridiculous. Like, thank you guys so much.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
Come to Portland. Come visit us. We love giving you beer.
Goddamn Breakside. Like, get after it. Cheers, everybody.
We're nearing the end. We've reached our destination. Now we just need to drink all the beer here in Portland. Still a lot to go. I think we're gonna hit like 29 breweries in one day. A few more breweries to film at. And of course, our beer release. Beer can and art inspired by us, collaborated upon, and life is good. It's all coming together. Breathe easy.
That was out of control. This is great.
You taste a lot of beer.
No, all the beer.
Yeah, kind of like, yeah. The mystery flight's a fun thing.
That was cool. That was a little wrinkle to the whole thing.
Come on, Kenny. Get your shit together.
I know.